Oh, yeah, welcome. It is 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 21st of November. This is the Passball Show brought to you by JohnPielli.com, the show that focuses on baseball, sports, and unifying America. And we're going to talk about the third a little later on in the program today. And I do thank everybody that's been with me that has had a chance to hear and see the rebirth of the program, which could be seen on Periscope as well as Facebook Live. And if you give me, 20, 30 minutes after, the videos will be posted up to YouTube. So we're going to make this a consistent thing. We've been doing the show. This is week number 4 of doing the show Monday through Friday with few exceptions. And this week, of course, we're going to take Thanksgiving off. We're not going to, who would have nothing better to do than to just listen to me, even if I was good on the day of Thanksgiving. So we'll be back with you Saturday instead of Thursday this week. We'll be joined in a little bit by Gerson Martinez, and we're going to talk a little soccer with him. But we'll focus on unifying America later on in the program. But I do want to start out by talking about something that just happened in baseball and something that seemed to be coming to a head for a while. And if you followed the situation going on with the Atlanta Braves and the violations that were made by the organization and the way they were handling international prospects, obviously you knew that there was going to be some discipline coming out there. General Manager John Coppolella announced his resignation, basically being the one that was the most to blame for what was going on in these violations. And I don't think there was anything that was surprising in regards to the penalties that were levied out, except for one thing. Commissioner Rob Manfred, and I don't know, maybe it's warranted, maybe it's not warranted, but banned Coppolella for life for the violations he committed with these international players. And I don't know. I'm going to put a poll up on Twitter. I'm going to give it, 24 hours just to see what the pulse of the people think. Because, to me, it seems like a little bit harsh to ban the guy for life. He is now in the same category as Pete Rose. He is now in the same category as Joe Jackson, Buck Weaver, Chick Gandil, Swede Risberg, Eddie Seacott, Lefty Williams, Happy Felsch, Fred McMullen, Hal Chase, Lee McGee, Benny Koff, and of course, most recently, Henry Mejia. And if you look back in the history of baseball, you see that the majority of the players that are banned for life are banned because of their associations with gamblers and their decisions made to bet on baseball. Of course, Koff's was a unique situation. If you're not too familiar with it, he was arrested for car theft around the same time that Kennesaw Mountain Landis became the voice of baseball, the commissioner, after the Black Sox scandal in 1920. And even though he was acquitted, the commissioner seemed to have a little bit of a, I don't know what to say for lack of a better word, but, obviously still did everything he could to stick it to him and make sure he was banned for life. But, Mejia, the former Mets pitcher, was banned for life for failing performance-enhancing drugs tests for the third time. He became the first player to ever fail a test the third time. And that requires now, with the new rules, a banishment for life, though he does have the ability to apply or the right to apply for reinstatement within 2 years. So now you're looking at a general manager or a former general manager that probably was going to have a tough time getting a job anyway. So assuming that, maybe he was given some kind of suspension and allowed back into baseball later, I don't think there's going to be organization after organization that are going to try to bring this guy in. But I think at some point, the man deserves another chance. Now, what I do want to do some research on and figure out, I mean, I've done enough reading about the violations that existed in baseball with the international players, and how instead of paying them the full bonus or offering them the full bonus, he decided to sign the players for an underslot value and was either pocketing the money or was making it up to them by giving certain perks, which are of course against the rules. But I'm looking at it, and I got to be honest with you, I understand the severity of what he did. First of all, he lost his job. I mean, that's penalty number one. And I understand if you did something wrong and it was, legitimate, there should be further ramifications. And what he did was in complete violation of baseball's rules regarding international players. He lost his job. The Braves end up having to suffer because they lost, all the players that they signed, through this illegal period. And I looked at what happened to, special assistant to general manager Coppolella, Gordon Blakely, who, by the way, has been in baseball for 32 years, is a well-respected front office, staff member, has done a lot of good things in baseball with a lot of good different organizations, and he is suspended for a year. So he's not allowed to take another job. Of course, he was let go as well as Coppolella, but he is allowed to take another job in baseball after a year. I mean, I just think a banning of this man for life, that was the part of it that shocked me. Nothing else was surprising. When it comes down to it, the dude, made some mistakes. But the one thing I do want to compare it to, because once again, we're talking about a guy who is banned for baseball for life. Just like Pete Rose, just like the Black Sox, just like the complete and utter criminal, Hal Chase, who was simply a con artist and a complete criminal that was disguised as a Major League Baseball player for several years. Not a bad player. But the man wouldn't know the words of the law if it smacked him in the face. So John Coppolella is now put in the same category with, in some cases, villains. Of course, Hal Chase would be considered a villain. Pete Rose certainly is considered, just a person that, is paying for the fact that he decided to lie for years upon years upon years. And the voice of baseball has all turned against him. And he really has very little to no chance to be reinstated in his lifetime. But I look at this situation with John Coppolella, and I compare it to what happened a couple of years ago with the San Diego Padres and their general manager, AJ Preller. And AJ decided that he was going to try to circumvent the rules by deciding he's going to come up with different types of injury reports that he holds on staff with his own players and tells the truth about what's going on with his own players, but create a separate set of medical reports to go out to other teams that left out important details. And I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing, and maybe I need to read a little more into what happened with these infractions involving the Atlanta Braves. But I'm trying to figure out why, in the eyes of baseball, that is so much worse than what AJ Preller did. Because what he did seems to be a lot worse. I mean, geez, you're lying about medical records that you're sending to other teams about players that you're about to trade to another team. And he got a 30-day suspension for crying out loud. And then you're talking about another person that's involved in international signing infractions gets banned for life. Something doesn't make sense. Right now, right here on the Pass Ball Show, we're happy to be joined by a man who is currently the Director of Youth Soccer Development for Metuchen Southplex in Metuchen, New Jersey, and is the New York Red Bulls youth trainer, and that's Gerson Martinez. Gerson, John Pielli over in New Jersey, appreciate you having a couple minutes today. Hey, first of all, we're going to get into a lot of things going on with soccer, but I've followed soccer a good amount of my life, and I know obviously not as much as you have. You've, your credentials speak for themselves. But when I was, let's say, 12, 15 years old, 18 years old, there was a little bit of a resurgence going on in soccer in regards to the United States of America. Obviously, soccer has its popularity throughout the world and is the number one sport worldwide. Now, there was talk that with the popularity with the World Cup and MLS and stuff like that, that it was going to gain some traction in regards to popularity as far as it was compared to sports like football and baseball and basketball. In your own opinion, how do you see that trending? Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've seen it grown, but I just think, and I was thinking about, probably about 15 years ago, I was sensing, and I know a lot of other people around me, and maybe you were feeling the same way, that there was going to be more of a boom at that point. What you're saying, it's kind of just taking a little bit longer, but it's progressively growing. No, I think that's very true. And you just touched on something that I was going to bring up. You got the issues going on with the NFL players and the concussion issues and what's leading to suicides. I mean, these players are, there's cases of players that, actually can't take the headaches and the stuff that they're dealing with anymore, and they're ending their own lives. So obviously there has been more of a national story in regards to that. So I do think kids are aware of this. And, whether it's parents, that are a little bit overprotective to say, hey, I'm not going to let, little Johnny play football, it opens up more different avenues. A place like soccer, which is obviously it's a free game that's set up all over the country. You could join all types of different soccer leagues. And, I do see, at least some sort of progression that I think, it's not going to happen today. But I think down the road, a sport like soccer has the ultimate opportunity to grow in this country, and I think it's a direct comparison to what's going on in football and the seriousness of the concussions and the injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that it has a big component to why so many kids are going to soccer. Parents are very now, MLS, it has a bigger branding than it did 10 years ago. Beckham's coming to LA Galaxy in 2007 was a big push because he was a big soccer player at the time. He was one of the best players in the world, and he chose to come to MLS. So that would help, I'll say, refreshness in the game. When you got an elite player in his prime, still competing in big leagues like Spain and playing for Real Madrid, he comes over to play in LA Galaxy and just rejuvenates enough. It's like another promotion to the game. So those things are helping consistently getting foreign players to come here and play still at their peak level. We haven't had much since Beckham, but there's players that have won the World Player of the Year. Baba from Brazil, he played in AC Milan, played around Madrid, won the FIFA Player of the Year, and won 2 World Cups, and was playing here in Orlando FC. So those type of things kind of motivate and still keep the league out propelling, still moving forward.
Now, how would you describe, once again, John Pielli, I'm here with Gerson Martinez, and Gerson is Director of Youth Soccer Development in Metuchen over here in New Jersey, and also played professionally in El Salvador. What would you describe as the state of MLS right now here in this country?
Well, there's 2 different points of view of the MLS in this country at this moment. I mean, it is the 6th for attendance globally, is the 6th league in the world.
Yeah.
So the fans are going to the games. The competition is getting better. I think, like I said earlier before, gathering players from Europe to come here is another big aspect of the growth of the league. And I'm looking for more expansion teams coming into 2019. So it started with 10 teams, now it's up to 24. So the league is continuously growing. It's continuously to bring better quality players from Europe, South America into the league. So it makes the newest player better. So the league itself is doing well. It's going to continue to do well as expansion. I mean, now, back in 97, you needed $5 million to get into the league. Now you need $150 million.
Yeah. Now, how would you say, Gerson, that these teams are doing financially? Are they doing well? Are they making money? The individual organizations and the owners.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, in Europe and South America, they have relegations where the teams at the bottom of the table, they go down to the lower division, and that's another big issue about, propelling, players and players better into the league better. The owners and the commissioners are staying fast that they don't want to go into that system because they don't want to lose the revenue that all these teams, whether you're last team or first team, you're making good money being in MLS. So those owners that bought into the system early on, they don't want to lose that caveat of
Minutes. This is the Pass Ball Show, brought to you by JohnPielli.com, and we got the connection back. My apologies. Gerson hopefully will join us back in another minute or so. And there's Gerson. How you doing, buddy? Sorry about the little problem there. It's an unfortunate thing that we got here when we're dealing with wireless internet.
no, it's okay. Me too. So that's understandable. But yeah, the teams are making money. They definitely are. Because the stadiums are getting bigger, the facilities are getting better, the training is getting better, and the players are getting better. And the owners are not complaining about their revenue.
Another thing I wanted to get into, Gerson, too, is from the lines of the gamblers because if you look at professional sports, particularly in this country, in the United States, it's a big deal when people are putting money down on it. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about, a football game on a traditional Sunday here in America. Obviously, there's a lot of money that's wagered, on both sides of the spectrum. Is that something that you could see starting to happen a little more? Or maybe you know the answer. Maybe that there is a definitive gambling set in regards to soccer, first in the country and then worldwide. Yeah, I figured it would be worldwide. Oh wow. Oh wow. No, and once again, this is John Pielli with Gerson Martinez. And, one of the things I did want to ask too, because, I'm trying to think of all different levels, because one of the things that I've seen, and I think we made that direct connection when we're talking about how soccer can become even more popular than it is in this country, especially compared to the other major sports. And another factor would be, major networks getting involved, or let's have a USA soccer channel or something like that on a cable network, or, Channel 4, Channel 7, prime time games. Is this something that you could see, MLS being able to get into down the road? Yeah.
In 2010, you have two grandiose players still coming. David Diaz still in his prime and he's playing here, but you couldn't see him on television. But you can talk, you can see, ESPN and Fox Sports talking about American football, the timeline, whooping around the fastest story, whooping the business. So until American television understands that there's marketing material here, I don't know, John. That's a tough question because it should be right now. Because when it's on the off season, baseball starts to get, start at the same time. But there is a market for soccer on television. watching the sport, you have people from other countries that, hey, we're soccer on television.
No, absolutely. No, listen, I agree with that 100%. I agree 100%, and that's kind of what I was getting at, because if you think, especially the international soccer fan, is certainly glued to the TV when the World Cup comes on, and obviously the average fair weather soccer fan will come out and start to pay attention when the World Cup comes on, and you're talking about nationally televised games in a lot of instances. I know that if I want to catch a soccer game on the tube, best of luck to me if I'm going to find it anywhere. So I do think from a marketing perspective, there has to be more resources available if this game's going to grow in this country, and obviously the worldwide popularity speaks for itself, and maybe soccer in general doesn't need that here. Maybe the success of the sport on a worldwide level, supersedes the need for it to be successful in his country or continue to grow and maybe challenge the other sports. Because I feel like if it's marketed right, I really truly feel that it could compete with the other major sports in this country. Of course. Of course. Yeah. Hey, once again, John Pielli here with Gerson Martinez. Now, talk a little bit about, if I'm not mistaken, the World Cup qualifiers have been going on, right?
Yes, they just finished.
All right. Give a little state about as far as where things are and what we could expect, going forward.
Well, the global perspective, you had some big teams that didn't make it. You had Italy, the Netherlands that didn't make it, who were usually global powers in soccer. Italy has been the World Cup since 1958.
Wow. Yeah, of course.
So, we all know what the side effects of not making the World Cup is going to be yet.
Wow. No, listen, and honestly, I don't follow it as hardcore as you do, but obviously a World Cup without Italy, you know, you got to be as we hit the halfway point of the show. We got the cuckoo clock here. Goes a little quick there, but once again, this is the Pass Ball Show, brought to you by JohnPielli.com. John Pielli with you. I'm happy to be joined by Gerson Martinez. Talking about the potential of a World Cup without Italy, and obviously on a local front, not having the United States. For the fair weather soccer fan like myself, who's going to be glued to the TV watching the World Cup, who are the favorites, and what should I be looking for?
Well, you should be looking at the favorites in Germany, Brazil. My dark horse in this race is France.
Okay.
And the reason why I say France, even though France, is because they lost to Portugal in the European Championships 2 years ago. And some of those French players was their very first time playing in a big tournament. And they looked very disappointed that they didn't beat Portugal. So I think that you need to look out for France. I think France is going to come and show the world that they belong there. Germany is a favorite, not just because it's Germany, but because they have won the last World Cup. They also won the Confederations Cup last year. And they have, John, they're like, I don't even know how to explain Germany. They got about 45 players and they can only take 22.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they have players upon players that you can choose from, and they can only take 22 players into the cup. So, they have a very good team. Brazil has was the first team to qualify for the World Cup, and was the first team to qualify outside of Russia, because Russia is the first to get the entry. But besides that, Brazil was the first one. Eli Jr., who used to play for Barcelona, he transferred to a big team in France called Paris Saint-Germain. He wants to be the best player in the world. And in order for him to be the best player in the world next year, he needs to have a big showing in the World Cup. And he needs to win the World Cup. Brazil needs to win the World Cup for him to be considered one of the best players in the world. So those teams right there are three favorites. I would say outside of that, Argentina, Lionel Messi, who has won the best player in the world for 4 years in a row, just lost it this year, but he needs to win the World Cup in order to solidify himself as the best player ever. So if he doesn't come out of the World Cup, Argentina, as a winner, he can't solidify himself as the best player ever. So those are four teams that you can look for to give it their all. And outside of that, I think everybody knows the basic. Maybe Korea, maybe Japan. They always play really well. The Asian countries play really well in the World Cup, and they always make at least a quarterfinals. And a couple of teams have made it to the semis, so we might have something for it.
Now, is there anybody in your mind that could be like a sleeper that you think may have just built up enough momentum on their own to kind of go under the spotlight and may not be getting a lot of attention and all of a sudden can make a big run at this thing?
Right now, it's tough. Spain
Yeah.
has lost a lot of their Jonas because the 11 players from 2008, 2010 have retired, and there's a new group of players, but they look very strong in the qualifying. They look very strong. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw them in the finals, right? Just if they play the right teams, they can sneak into the final. They have incredible
All right, last thing, as always, Gerson, I want to thank you for having some time to be on the show. Hopefully, I get you on again sometime. The floor is all yours. So anything that you want to promote, anything that you want to talk about, any way to, anybody could contact you for, for anything that involves what you're doing with soccer. Floor is yours, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I'm here for you, John, and I love to talk sports in general. No, if anybody wants any questions, they can contact the Sportsplex in Metuchen, and we can discuss soccer and youth development is one of their things. Their parents are looking to develop their kids into becoming a better soccer player, and we, assist you there. I think that U.S. has a great responsibility right now to become a soccer power in the rest of the world because it can. I mean, we have 300 million people living in the United States. So we should be able to garner at least 22 guys in the field that can go out there and sweat ball, defend, and be exciting to watch around the world. We are everyone. That's what every team has a nickname, and the Mexico is the three, and Italy's sorry. So America, this is everyone's team because it accommodates everyone, and we have 300 million people from different cultures and different nationalities, and we can make a good, solid U.S. national team starting from the youth level, and then how we gather and focus our energy. I think the U.S. Soccer Federation is going into the urban communities and looking for those athletes because this pay to play is really hurting soccer.
No, it's so true.
It's not hurting soccer because you only a certain income can really afford to play soccer, and they're not giving those kids the more income bracket the football players, the soccer, the basketball players. And soccer is so easy. All you need is a soccer ball and four rocks.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking, Gerson, when you were saying that. You get a round ball, and it's something you should be able to play, right?
Right. And you come up at your feet, and that's it. And that's it. You can play soccer all day. I think once that is captivated, once that's captive in the minds of those people at the top who are saying, what, how can we reach everyone? And not just those people that can afford to play soccer? How can we reach them? Once that is done, it's easy. I mean, the U.S. Soccer Federation is doing their best. They give out grants to the Boys and Girls Clubs, the YMCA's, the nonprofit organizations. But one thing that is failing in my opinion, because I work in the nonprofit sector, I saw that they gave uniforms. They did give money so they can get field, but they didn't give money to good training.
Yeah.
They give it to the after school math teacher that wants to have a part-time job afterwards teaching soccer. And that is not how that's not how you should train or introduce soccer to a kid. You should give them the opportunity to be trained by someone that has played soccer and say, hey, this is how soccer can be played before. So those are my only comments. And thank you, John, for having me. And if anybody can want to reach at me at Metuchen Sportsplex in Metuchen, New Jersey, you can go to MetuchenSportsplex.com and you can go through there and see me there, or email me at gerson.martinez7@gmail.com.
Hey, Gerson, I really appreciate you having the time. A lot of cool stuff there we got into, and I hope it was what you were looking for, and I look forward to having you on the program again. Like I said, anytime, it works both ways, man. I'd be glad to have you on the show again soon. Talking some soccer, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, John. And good luck in your good blessings. Hopefully, we'll see you soon.
All right, take care, man. All right, that was Gerson Martinez, and Gerson, of course, is the director of youth soccer development for Metuchen Sportsplex in Metuchen, New Jersey. He's also the New York Red Bulls youth trainer, and this is a guy that's played soccer professionally in El Salvador. And we kind of had a chance to talk about something really we haven't brought up on the show yet, and that's soccer throughout the world. And, obviously people know me as being a hardcore baseball fan, and, I am, but I'm open-minded to different things that are going on in the world. And the one thing that stands out that, Gerson brought up very early was a thought that I kind of had, at the same time, was what's going on in the NFL. And you have the concussion situation. So naturally, parents are going to be a little apprehensive for letting, little Johnny or little Timmy, go out there and play football even at a very amateur level. And think about it. I mean, you got, lack of experience, in regards to kids that are just learning the sport for the first time. You would think that there's more of a chance that they could get seriously hurt. And now, you're seeing what's going on with the concussions. And I mean, I just think it's awful just to have your head wrung that many times. And, Lord knows my head has been wrung enough, that I have, symptoms of CTE. And, I hope, when it's time for me to go, my brain gets scanned for it. I could definitely relate to what a lot of these players, go through on a day in and day out basis. The headaches. Listen, I was probably a shot or two away from having full-blown CTE. So I understand up to a certain point what somebody has to go through when they're trying to live through that. And it's, from a parent's perspective, especially if you have a little boy, they're going to be they're going to be interested in all different sports. And what I talked about, Gerson, we were talking about the interest that's involved with gambling, because fantasy sports, it's not, you don't have to be that old, to be 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and all of a sudden you're starting to think about putting your first fantasy team together. And the unfortunate thing about that is, it creates a series of interest that exists within the sport. And, it could be cool if it's fun to watch, but, kids want to be out there and playing, and they want to be athletic, and they want to be part of the game. So it's going to be natural for them to want to play. And it's not necessarily whether they play, when they're 8, 9, 10 years old, but they're going to want to play, in middle school if there's a team, or, Pop Warner. And obviously, the amount of kids that go out and play football in high school, is tremendous, because it's essentially an open camp. Many high school football teams don't cut players. They have their freshman team, and they're willing to section themselves into 2, 3, 4 different teams if they need to make sure that everybody that wants to play can play. Now, I do think it's a responsibility of the parent to educate their child, but also allow them to make their own decisions. And, for a kid to understand the impacts of, what could be head trauma and a concussion, because it could happen in soccer too. Like Gerson mentioned, hockey is a very similar sport. Certainly a lot more contact in hockey than there is in soccer, though there is significant contact in soccer. Remember, you're not wearing helmets in soccer. You are in hockey. You are in football. So, there is an opportunity, and I've seen it for a while. I think it's something that we hopefully can see grow throughout our country. MLS is doing a better job, but what about being involved in a certain network? Get one game a week. NBC is still messing around with trying to get a hockey game on, every week or every couple weeks. They have the Winter Classic outdoors. That's become a staple every year on New Year's Day. I just think marketing from soccer in this country is not doing a good job. And there's opportunity, especially when we're talking about little kids who are looking for, maybe an alternative to football because either their parents said no, or maybe they've heard the reports and the stories themselves and are scared and, are worried about what's going to happen to my head, if I take enough of these hits. And especially if I'm talented. If I'm talented, I'm going to take even more hits because I'm going to play at a more competitive level against better competition. But it's amazing. I found the one thing that Gerson said that actually almost knocked me off my chair is the fact that soccer is having a hard time reaching to the inner cities. I agree that that's a fact, but I'm floored by the fact that you're talking about a round ball and the disconnect between people that can literally go out in a park or in a field and just kick a ball around. You don't even need a goal. You can work on, like he said, your footwork. It's an easy sport to learn. It's an easy sport to practice and improve upon your skills. Like I said, it's easy to do. I can't do it. I got to be honest. When I was younger, I lost interest in soccer very early, and I was just, my decision as a little kid. But I could see the athleticism that's involved in it. The type of shape that you have to be to run up and down that field if you need to. The footwork to be able to maneuver and, set certain plays and be able to, kick a ball from a certain angle, hit a certain part of the ball to make it travel, in certain directions, put certain spin on the ball. I get it. There's a lot of skill involved. But I'm thinking 15 years ago, the World Cup starting to become a big thing in the United States again. I thought we would have progressed a little further. And I know they did a good job sending, MLS up. We have a league. It's growing. It's up to 24 teams now. But I'm very interested to see how it's going to go forward and if there is a direct relationship between the growth of soccer here in the United States and the dropping of professional football here in the United States of America. And I know that's a tall order, and I'm not insinuating by any stretch of the imagination that that's happening anytime soon. But how much has this concussion thing, weighed in on people? Are we impacting potentially a future generation that may be more apprehensive than ever to playing football at a high level? And I'm talking about American football. Once again, John Pielli, Passball Show. Happy to be with you on Tuesday, the 21st of November, 2017. I do have the phone if you want to pop in. We got a couple minutes. Probably be in the program maybe in about 5 minutes or so, but we can get you on if you want to talk a little sports, baseball, unifying America, as I get into pretty much my final monologue of the program. 732-364-3598. And there's no call screener. You'll get right up. You can literally say whatever it is that you want. 732-364-3598. So I was thinking about what I said yesterday. And we were talking, of course, if you listen to the program, about the need for us to stop being so selfish in regards to our own personal feelings. And you continue to hear celebrity after celebrity, make their emphatic points. The majority of them are against the president, but even the ones that are making the points for the president, they're sounding very obnoxious. They're sounding to a point where, they continue. And obviously this is something that our president has had a very big influence in. They're continuing to add to the divide. And in all honesty, it's not making anything better. And I think it's unfortunate that we're in that spot where you continue to have people speak out, and they're speaking out in a way like they feel like they're helping. They're not. And I don't know what to. I really don't know what to say anymore. Because my goal, and I've said this all along, is I want to be part of the solution. I want to be a reason where people could come together and have a conversation. If you don't like our president, who cares? Why is that big of a deal? If you like the president, why should it be held against you? But, of course, the simple mention of that is going to polarize people. And there's people that are going to hear that words, are going to interpret it however they want, whatever. I promise you this. I'm not on a freaking side. I told you, you're picking between two supreme cult followings. And you're talking about one of the two terrorist groups that exist in this country, the Republicans and the Democrats. And it's all about what side are you on. And I don't like to be repetitive, but there's certain points that I feel the need to have to repeat. This country doesn't have a particular look to any person. In other words, you say American, and that could apply to any person that is brought in and lives in this country. There's been Americans of any race, ethnicity, religion that have gone back for hundreds of years. For over 200 years now. So an American doesn't have a look to them. And as I get ready to leave, I'll quote the great Morgan Freeman, who said that he wants to live in a world where he is just referred to by his name. And he's referred to as a man and not a black man. And I feel the same way. I want to be referred to as a man, as an American. And obviously I use the word man to, as inclusive. But there's so much stuff. And listen, I know I don't have the power by myself to be able to change any of this. And I hope the more I continue to do my show, whether it's on Periscope, whether it's on Facebook Live, whether you're watching my YouTube video that I put together afterwards, I just want to keep drilling home this point. That we need to stop making it about ourselves, because our individual self is doing nothing for the whole. And I understand the whole proposition that's put together when you think of so many people with so many different, differences and in ideologies and philosophies. And you're talking about a society that has so many different tendencies of people that are going to have different kind of cultures. But the United States of America, the nation that's set as it is, and the nation that we have grown to have, and a success that has existed for many of the 200 plus years this country has been around, the country has gotten there because of its differences and its ability to communicate with each other. And somewhere along the line, we have to open up that communication line again. Because we can. We have the ability to do that. And I think maybe it's time for these celebrities to shut their freaking mouths. They're celebrities. They're not politicians. Go back to whatever, band you're from or movie you're in or whatever it is that you do for a living, which, by the way, in most cases, you're very well compensated for what you do. So when you're sitting there on your millions and you feel like you're doing people a service by running your mouth, you're just embarrassing yourself. You're adding to the divide. And the last message I'll make is to our president. I believe the last two presidents we've had in this country have equally not been given the opportunity to do their jobs the way they've wanted to. Some of it is because of backlash. Some of it, in President Trump's case, is because of things that he's said and then done. But I think it's time for President Trump to stick to his plan and the things that are working in this country and get the hell off of Twitter. I mean, we're not in a society where a president needs to be tweeting opinions all the time. And once again, this is my first time that I've gone after an issue on this show. So obviously it's going to be divisive. The pro-Trump people are going to hate me for saying that. But I'm talking about putting an olive branch there to say things that could happen to unify people. And one of the major steps for unification will be to get this guy off his damn phone. But at the same time, the people of the nation should respect the fact that he is the president of the United States. Once again, John Pielli with you. Big thanks to Gerson Martinez for being part of the program. We'll certainly have him on the program again, talking a little soccer. We got into some good stuff there. We'll be back with you tomorrow, 6 p.m., right here on Periscope, Facebook Live, and available later on YouTube. God bless you, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.